Picture this. Christmas morning arrives and you're creeping toward that massive box under the tree, heart pounding with anticipation. You rip through the wrapping paper like a tornado, dreaming of that perfect gift you've been begging for since October. But instead of magic, you find disappointment. Socks, again. Well, this week in the trading world, that devastating letdown absolutely did not happen. Instead, we got the most satisfying payoff imaginable, followed immediately by chaos so intense it makes Welcome to Plathville look boring. After 2 weeks of covering RocketScooter Matt and Lance Barkstein, all that foreplay came to a glorious geyser explosion that would make Old Faithful blush. Matt absolutely dominated the BDH World Cup competition. And what does Lance Barkstein have? Well, he's still polishing his "I used to work at Trillium" trophy and explaining how quitting made him enlightened.
But here's what makes this story incredible. Matt didn't just stumble into victory. He called his shot like he was Caitlin Clark hitting logo threes. I got you, D-Money. Before markets even opened, he boldly predicted his own success. Then he pulled out his signature strategy, literally sketching the exact price pattern he expected to see unfold. And guess what happened next? The market moved exactly as he drew it. He executed his trades flawlessly, following his own roadmap to victory. It's like watching someone predict the weather and then somehow controlling the clouds. Pure trading poetry in motion that left everyone else wondering how he made it look so effortless. After that, he coasted. Like four-time WMVP Asia Wilson, I still got you, D. Dominant, unbothered, already celebrating before the buzzer. And that's where the story should have ended. But before the confetti could hit the floor, things at BDH went nuclear. And what started as innocent fun became the most chaotic meltdown the trading community has ever witnessed.
Let me take you back to where this all began. Patrick Wieland, the man behind the BDH, had what seemed like a brilliant idea. Launch a community-driven trading contest where everyday traders could compete for serious money. The concept was simple. Purchase evaluation accounts, trade your heart out, and may the best trader win. Patrick wasn't just promoting this thing, he was literally putting his own money where his mouth was, contributing to prize payouts from his personal wallet. The hype was immediate and intense. Traders flooded in, influencers started hyping it up, and suddenly everyone in the trading sphere was watching. This felt different from the usual corporate-sponsored competitions. This had that grassroots energy that gets people genuinely excited. Patrick seemed stoked about bringing the community together for something fun and competitive. But then reality hit like a freight train, and it all started with one massive misunderstanding about the rules.
After the first day, traders started to realize the rules weren't quite what they'd signed up for. The understanding was simple. Once you hit $5,000 in profit, that $5,000 drawdown limit would stop trailing. Makes sense, right? You've proven yourself, you've made money. Now you get a little breathing room. Except, that's not how it worked at all. The truth was far more brutal. The $5,000 drawdown was actually a daily loss limit that reset every single morning, regardless of how much profit you'd banked the day before. You could make $50,000 on Monday, but come Tuesday morning, you were right back to that same $5,000 cliff edge. One bad day could wipe out everything. When this reality became clear, absolute chaos erupted on Patrick's stream. Traders were furious, confused, and calling foul play faster than Patrick could explain what happened. The chat turned into war zones with people debating fairness, rule clarity, and whether anyone knew what they'd actually signed up for.
To his credit, Patrick handled it with genuine empathy. He jumped in right away to clarify the rules and apologize for the mix-up. He owned the mistake, reminded everyone that the whole thing was meant to be just for fun, and did his best to calm the storm. But in the trading world, when money's on the line, apologies don't always cut it. Then came the reset controversy, the moment everything somehow got even worse. It had been announced that only one reset would be allowed, but traders quickly discovered that multiple resets were actually available. Accusations started flying, with some claiming others were buying their way to the top of the leaderboard, and the entire spirit of fair competition went out the window. Some participants thought they were in a skill-based challenge that rewarded talent and strategy, but Matt was clear about this from the beginning.
Contest trading isn't the same as real trading. On Tuesday morning, Matt basically gave a 15-minute TED Talk on contest dynamics. Here's the short version. Just because someone hands you a basketball doesn't mean you're playing that game. Maybe it's who can hit a mid-court three. Maybe it's who can drain the most threes in 60 seconds. Or maybe it's just who can sink the most consecutive free throws. And that's where Matt had already won. He understood the assignment. He knew the contest wasn't about being the best trader. It was about beating the rules that were given for the contest. Despite everyone having the same circumstances, Patrick found himself apologizing yet again, explaining that there had been serious miscommunication about the rules, while also reminding everyone that he hadn't actually created these policies in the first place. He was caught between angry traders and the need to manage expectations while keeping the contest moving forward somehow. And just when things seemed like they might finally settle down and return to normal, Brian Stonk decided to throw gasoline directly onto the fire.
Brian publicly accused Patrick of profiting from all the account sales, essentially implying that the entire contest was some elaborate money grab disguised as community fun. The accusation ripped through social media like a shockwave, suggesting that Patrick had orchestrated this whole thing not for the community, but for his own financial gain. Patrick's response was swift and devastating. He came back with math proving that he hadn't made a penny from the contest. In fact, he'd taken a loss. He showed everyone exactly how much of his own money had gone into funding the prize pool. The tables turned instantly, with Brian Stonk looking like he'd made a serious miscalculation. Brian said, "Sir, you are charging $39 per account for a $10,000 top prize, $25,000 total. Why not make the prize dynamic and match the total revenue?" No need to profit off your fans for a tiny prize. And Patrick replied, Brian, do you know how prop firms work? It cost $42 to set up a TradeDay account. How am I making money?
But Twitter drama doesn't die that easily. Enter Minx, who decided this was the perfect time to air some dirty laundry. She jumped into the conversation, publicly accusing Brian Stonk of failing to deliver promised prizes in his own previous giveaways. Suddenly, this wasn't just about the BDH contest anymore. It was about accountability across the entire influencer trading space. Screenshots started flying. Subtweets turned into direct confrontations. The BDH contest, which had started as a fun community competition, had morphed into a full-blown influencer civil war. Turns out the real challenge wasn't surviving the drawdown rules, it was surviving Twitter. Patrick Whelan opened the exchange with, "You will learn one day who runs this game, Brian." Brian Stonk replied calmly, "I'm just minding my own business now. You do you." Patrick then escalated dramatically. "I shall not rest until I swing my dick from the heavens and wipe the name Brian Stonk from the prop firm world forever." Brian attempted to de-escalate. "Sometimes this back and forth gets old, not as engaging anymore. I think we should stop. Let's be friends." Patrick responded once more, posting a GIF and declaring, "Oh no, Brian, it's war. Remember the last time I set my sights on you and dropped a nuclear bomb on your head?"
Against all odds and through absolute mayhem, something incredible actually happened. The contest somehow wrapped up successfully. Despite every single controversy, heated argument, and moment of pure confusion, traders kept grinding and competing like nothing could stop them. RocketScooter Matt claimed victory with clear runners up trailing behind. The prizes are getting distributed exactly as promised, proving that even chaos can't derail a good competition. Make sure you tune into Monday's BDH to catch the victory celebration. Then stick around for the afternoon because D-Money is taking command of the BDH for his very first solo run. That's definitely going to be something special to witness. Massive shout out to Legends Trading for hosting the absolutely wild BDH World Cup. Seriously, that event was completely insane in the best possible way. We hope there are many more to come. And if you want to check out Legends yourself, use code FFF and save serious money on your next evaluation. All the links are sitting right there in the description below. But here's the thing. Legends isn't the only affiliate creating competitive chaos this week. Over at TradeDay, their Influencer Cup is heating up incredibly fast and the drama is already building.
Get this. You're a trading guru with thousands of followers who hang on your every market prediction. You've built your entire brand on being the Wolf of Wall Street's smarter cousin. Then someone says, "Hey, want to prove it in front of everyone?" And suddenly you're sweating like a dog at the vet. But wait, it gets better. The traders decided losing wasn't humiliating enough, so they added a reset counter. That's right, now everyone can see exactly how many times you've rage quit your account after watching your trades implode. It's like adding a times cried today counter on a Tory trade stream. We've got some absolute legends who haven't reset once, standing there like trading monks achieving financial enlightenment. Meanwhile, others are already on their third reset, frantically clicking that button like they're playing whack-a-mole with their own dignity. These poor souls are probably telling their followers, "This is just market research, guys. Totally intentional." The funny part? The reset counter doesn't even affect the actual contest results. It's purely for public shame, like a digital scarlet letter for bad trades. Some traders are treating it as a badge of honor, while others are probably considering a career change to something less stressful, like wrestling alligators. This financial gladiator arena continues through the end of October. And honestly, we're all here for it. Mad respect to these influencers for actually putting their reputations where their mouths are, even if those reputations are currently getting absolutely obliterated by market forces.
Let's kick this off with a fun little pop quiz. Do you know what Twinkies, the delicious snack cake that sounds like it should also be the name of a strip club in Florida, and Scott Treasty, the failed CEO of Fast Track Trading, have in common? Before you say they're both filled with cream, let me stop you right there. Okay, fine. They actually are. But that's not where I'm going with this.
Survey said...
That's right, they both filed for bankruptcy. And honestly, that's way more embarrassing than any cream-filling joke could ever be. Picture this. Twinkies, the snack cake famous for surviving a nuclear apocalypse, couldn't survive basic business operations. Meanwhile, Scott thought, you know what's better than paying traders their money? Buying myself a Lamborghini. You know, that timeless lesson they teach at Harvard Business School.
The irony here is subtle, kind of like swallowing a grenade and thinking you just have a tummy ache. Twinkies have been America's preservative-packed comfort food since 1930. They survived the Great Depression, 2 world wars, and at least 7 diet fads that should have wiped them off the map. But in 2012, even Hostess finally threw in the towel and filed for Chapter 11. Scott? He didn't even make it a year before Fast Track's bank account started looking like a sad emoji. But here's the kicker. Twinkies made a comeback. New owners swooped in, saved the brand, and now they're back on shelves everywhere. Scott? I'd love to say he paid back the money he borrowed from his parents. I'd like to say he apologized for using racial slurs or that he didn't dox traders. And sure, I wish he'd at least followed the law and warned customers their data had been breached and sold by his own employees. Yeah, I'd love to say that. But instead, let's just say there's a big announcement coming, and you're not going to believe what he's doing next.
Before I send you into full throttle eye roll mode, let's hop in the Wayback Machine and get a running start at this story. Meet Scott Treasty, the mastermind behind Fast Track Trading, or as I like to call it, how to turn millions into pocket change in record time. This is the villain origin story of a man who promised traders the world and delivered a one-way ticket to disappointment, all while living like a hedge fund king on money that wasn't exactly his to spend. Get this, May 2024, Scott launches fast-track trading with promises that would make a used car salesman blush. Instant funding without evaluations? Thumbs up. Massive profit splits? 2 thumbs up. No recurring fees? 3 thumbs up. It was like someone took every prop trader's wish list and made it reality. Except reality has a nasty habit of demanding actual money to back up those promises.
But Scott had a plan, and by plan I mean the financial equivalent of a house of cards built during a hurricane. While legitimate prop firms spend years building sustainable business models, Scott decided to skip that boring part and go straight to the collect deposits and figure it out later approach. And boy, did Scott live like Fast Track was the next Wall Street success story. While traders were watching their hard-earned cash swirl down FTT's giant toilet bowl, Scott was busy building quite the collection. A Lamborghini Huracan? Obviously. A Ferrari F430? Essential. A McLaren 570S and a Bentley Continental? Well, you can't have too many supercars when you're shopping with other people's money. But the real kick in the dick? Scott used trader funds to pay for his Las Vegas wedding. Because nothing screams fiduciary responsibility like funding your bachelor party with client deposits. I'm sure the traders would have been thrilled to learn their dreams of financial freedom were actually subsidizing someone else's honeymoon. And get this, he even paid to bring pretty much the entire Fast Track team along for the ride. You know, because he's such a swell guy.
For a while, the illusion held. Fast-track trading processed payouts quickly, creating a false sense of legitimacy that attracted even more deposits. It was the financial equivalent of a carnival magic show, dazzling on the surface, but built entirely on misdirection. Then came the data leak that exposed the man behind the curtain. Internal communications revealed that Scott and his wife had been paying themselves millions, disguised as trader payouts. Even more shocking, they were already planning their next venture before FTT had even collapsed. Because why let a little thing like fiduciary duty get in the way of entrepreneurial spirit? The house of cards finally tumbled in November 2024 when the flow of new deposits couldn't keep pace with withdrawal demands. Suddenly, payouts that had been processed in days stretched to weeks, then stopped altogether. The magic trick was over, and everyone could see the strings.
By January 2025, Fast Track Trading filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Here's where the numbers get truly staggering. Despite generating over $31 million in revenue, the company had only $78,000 in assets when it went under. Let that sink in. $31 million in, $78,000 out. That's not bad business. That's a mathematical impossibility unless someone was systematically looting the vault. And let's not forget, just recently, a new prop firm called Thrive was launched by someone who wasn't even in Fast Track's C-suite. They just worked customer service. And that thing sank faster than the Hindenburg. Think about that. The customer service guy from Fast Track started a firm, and the leftover toxicity was so bad it crushed the entire business. So naturally, you'd think Scott would see that and say, yeah, maybe I should sit this one out, right? Wrong. Scott wasn't done yet, because why learn from your mistakes when you can double down on them? So here's that big announcement that I promised earlier. Despite the spectacular implosion of Fast Track Trading, Scott somehow landed himself a shiny new title, CTO of a new prop firm called the Prop Pit.
The trading community's reaction was swift and merciless. Public warnings flooded social media, telling traders to steer clear. Even Discord servers started lighting up with ultimatums. One of the biggest came from the mighty Ox, who dropped the hammer immediately. At everyone, sorry for the late ping. If you get a DM or anyone recruiting you for a place called the Prop Pit, stay far away. This is Scott TradeDay's new venture into the prop world. Scott is the disgraced former owner of bankrupt Fast Track Trading. Anyone involved in working for or running this new venture will not be welcome in this server. But why such an extreme reaction? Court documents reveal the devastating truth behind TradeDay's former company, Fast Track Trading. According to federal allegations, he systematically drained client accounts to bankroll an extravagant lifestyle. Prosecutors claim the firm operated like a classic Ponzi scheme, using new client deposits to pay old obligations while Scott lived large.
The filings describe Fast Track's success as nothing more than smoke and mirrors, a carefully engineered illusion that was always destined to collapse. For traders who lost everything, watching TradeDay stage a comeback felt like salt in a fresh wound. The community's unified rejection wasn't just about protecting others, it was personal justice in action. And the court's own words, quoted by a JMU Trades on Twitter, paints the picture perfectly. TradeDay siphoned millions of dollars in client funds for his personal enrichment, leaving FTT devoid of liquidity. Instead of reinvesting client deposits into bona fide trading operations, TradeDay siphoned client funds to underwrite a life of excess. TradeDay further diverted client funds for personal expenses, rent, gambling losses, luxury cars, lavish vacations, even his Las Vegas wedding weekend. FTT bore the unmistakable hallmarks of a Ponzi scheme.
When confronted about the FTT debacle, Scott's response was a masterclass in deflection. He downplayed his wrongdoing and suggested that payouts might be subject to clawback, while conveniently blaming others for the company's failures. It was like watching someone set their house on fire and then complain about the smoke. Scott wrote, "If you were an FTT trader, be ready for correspondence from the bankruptcy attorneys and their partners. Thanks to Daniel Hussey Jr. and his group of TAC boobs, it's very possible your hard-earned payouts could be subject to clawback. Get counsel and fast."
Your first reaction might be, I want to throat punch this guy. And honestly, that's a perfectly natural response because his behavior doesn't say, I've learned my lesson. It screams, I don't even know the clawback rules. And for a guy destined to end up in bankruptcy court, it's kind of tragic he never learned the rule book he was playing by. When you file for bankruptcy, A court-appointed trustee becomes your personal financial detective, minus the cool trench coat. Their job is to dig through every transaction leading up to your collapse and hunt down anything that looks suspicious. That money you thought was safely tucked away? Yeah, they can legally take it back. Here's the brutal truth. Bankruptcy law doesn't care about your intentions. If you paid certain people while stiffing everyone else, those payments can be reversed. The trustee will literally claw back that money and redistribute it fairly among all creditors. And even though I keep saying creditors like it's some dystopian word you'd hear in a Salad Fingers video, yeah, I went there. In this story, the creditors are you, the traders.
So, where are we now? Multiple law firms were hired on 30% contingency fees, which tells you everything you need to know about their confidence in recovering substantial funds. When lawyers are willing to work for a third of whatever they can claw back, they're pretty sure there's money to be found. The court documents paint a devastating picture of systematic fraud. Scott had diverted client funds, not just for luxury cars and jewelry, but for gambling losses, residential lease payments, lavish vacations, and that infamous Las Vegas wedding weekend. It wasn't just poor business judgment. It was wholesale theft disguised as entrepreneurship. The human cost of Scott's financial fantasy was staggering. Hundreds, possibly thousands of traders lost money they could never afford to lose. These weren't sophisticated Wall Street players. They were ordinary people chasing the American dream of financial independence who got caught in Scott's web of lies. The bankruptcy trustee's investigation revealed the true scope of the fraud. More than 600 transfers were identified as potentially avoidable and recoverable under federal bankruptcy law. The systematic nature of the scheme meant that virtually every payout in the final months could be subject to clawback actions. What makes this story even more infuriating is how preventable it all was. The warning signs were there from the beginning. Promises too good to be true, a business model that made no economic sense, and a founder more interested in flashing wealth than building a sustainable company.
So here we are, back where we started. What do Twinkies and Scott have in common? One survived bankruptcy and learned to adapt to a changing market. The other's still trying to convince traders he's not the snack that leaves you empty and unsatisfied. But this time, the courts aren't buying what he's selling, and neither should anyone else. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that moved fast at fast track trading was Scott's ability to separate traders from their cash. And that's one record nobody should be proud of holding. So, if you've been burned by firms that looked legit until payout time, you're not alone. Here's the brutal truth most traders won't say out loud. The only real edge is sticking with prop firms that have a long, proven track record. Apex Trading isn't just another prop firm throwing around flashy marketing. While everyone's looking at their 20 accounts and low fees, smart traders are looking at something completely different. The real edge isn't in the rules you can see, it's in understanding the systems they don't advertise. Most beginners treat prop trading like a lottery ticket. Throw money at challenges, pray for a pass, repeat. That's the losing game. The winners treat it like a business. They study the firm's profit model, not just the rule book. If you are ready to flip the script on prop firm trading, click the video and learn how to hack the system.